Welcome to Teen ypww Lesson 4. I do not own the rights to this music. Today's topic is Turn the Lights On Part 1. The lesson text is coming out of Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 22, John chapter 20, verses 24 through 31. The memory verse. I will read the King James Version first and then the New International Version of Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. The New International Version of Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. The key for today's lesson: don't be afraid to glow in the dark. The focus for today's lesson: God has called us to be witnesses of the light of His presence in our lives. Our lesson today will discuss a few more aspects about our role as the light of the world, as stated in Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. This role is so significant that it merits our continuing study. Our memory verse declares that we should let our light shine before others. As believers, our lives are on display for the entire world to see. Although some of us may never travel around the whole world, our lives will be seen by our families and our friends who reside in the part of the world where we live. The gospel of Jesus Christ has global representatives on each of the 7 continents of the earth. They are the believers who live in various towns, states, and countries all around the world. They love God and are living righteous lives. God intentionally sets us up to live in various places so that others can see our good works and divine disposition. God strategically puts us on display to strengthen His purpose in the earth and to showcase His glory. Therefore, you are encouraged, teen listeners, to strive to be the light that God would like you to be every day. Turn the lights on. This popular request is the foundational premise of our next 4 lessons. We will discuss light, illumination, and shining bright in the darkest regions of our world. This is the assignment of all believers. Everyone in our sphere of influence should see who we are and our manner of life. As the light of the world, we are given 2 additional descriptions of light. Exhibition: a city that sits on a hill and a candle on a candlestick. Our positioning and residency of living in a city on a hill denotes elevation and being on constant display. Jesus is our perfect example of this type of lifestyle, being on constant display through the highs and lows of his life on the earth. His family, disciples, and followers were able to observe his manner of life. They saw how he handled difficult situations. They were privy to first-hand knowledge of how he balanced his public ministry and his private rest times. We are also able to learn about Jesus' manner of life from the accounts written in the Bible. One of the most crucial times after Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection was the conversation he had with Thomas in John chapter 20, verses 24 through 29. The multi-layered and almost catastrophic events of this season proved to be overwhelming to some of Jesus' followers. The disciple Thomas was discouraged by some of the things that happened during this volatile time and doubted the authenticity of Jesus Christ. Jesus, knowing of Thomas's anguish and mental dilemma, finds Thomas to help his unbelief. Jesus invites Thomas to examine the wounds in his hands and touch the wound in his side. After this encounter, Thomas's doubts were answered, settled, and eliminated. Jesus' love for Thomas caused him to act in a compassionate manner. Jesus turned on his light of patience and kindness. Jesus showed Thomas what he needed to see for Thomas's sake. In John chapter 17, verse 12, Jesus declared that every follower that God gave him would not be lost. Thomas was included in this not be lost group. He wanted to see the wounds of Jesus for himself. When Jesus showed Thomas his wounds, immediately his doubts were diminished. Overwhelmed with joy, he confessed that Jesus was indeed the Lord. Just as in this event, Jesus' love for Thomas caused him to act in this compassionate manner. There will be times when we are tasked to show this same type of compassion. Someone will need see something that we can show them for their sake, not for ours. We must also discuss the statement that Jesus made after this demonstrative act of kindness. Jesus warns Thomas about his proclivity of unbelief, encouraging him to be quicker to believe. In efforts to help Thomas even more in this regard, Jesus shares with him a comparative analogy and sobering truth. He declared to Thomas that unlike him, others had the capacity to believe without seeing. They were motivated and inspired by simply hearing the good news. They believed the testimonies that they heard. Then, lastly, Jesus declared that better blessings are in store for those who have the capacity to believe first without seeing the proof or manifestation of their faith. There will be times when we are challenged to let our light shine to influence the world around us. We will need to go the extra mile to show someone the depth of our understanding so that they can be helped. Jesus is our perfect example of this extra mile lifestyle. Jesus' followers were able to witness the highs and lows of his life. He meticulously demonstrated how to let our light shine and live a life that is on constant display. Thomas's understanding of Jesus' deity was enlightened as the result of Jesus' caring demonstration. The questions for today's lesson. Number one, our lives are constantly on display to those who are around us every day, our family and our friends. How can we live balanced lives in a social media driven society? Question two. Extra milers is a phrase used to describe those individuals who will go beyond the call of duty to help someone or to complete a task. Share with your class about any person you know who would be called an extra miler. The end. God bless you and thank you for joining me today.